What's up, everybody? Brothers, sisters, psychonauts, and seekers of truth. It is Ananka, and welcome to my bazaar. Today, I have an MXE chirp report for you. The title of this chirp report is A Christmas Tale of Ego Death and Rebirth, and was submitted to Earwid in 2013 by the user Wiccan Seeker. With all that being said, let our story begin. I will now attempt to put into words the methoxetamine trips I had on the first and the third days of Christmas 2012, the wholes of which were the most intense and experientially rich I had to date. Much will be lost, as the experiences were so very intense that they defied scrutiny. I was too caught up in the experience to keep track of it all. To not make the post too long, I will try to cut it down to its essence and do a lot of skipping. I had not used any recreational drugs in a month. It was time to get out there again. December 25th. 100 milligrams MXE, 30 plus 20 plus 20 plus 30 milligrams. The good womb. I had taken my 30 milligrams sublingual, which ripped up my reality hard and kept me edging on anxiety for a while. Then I took 20 milligrams sublingual and retreated to bed. In bed, I had a good womb experience. I regressed partially to being a fetus floating in amniotic fluid in the womb. I was completely carefree. The fetus didn't need to breathe, didn't eat or go to the bathroom. All was provided by the umbilical cord and the nurturing living environment surrounding him. In a life that until then had been entirely free of problematic external circumstances. It was so peaceful, so comfortable, the ultimate Christmas feeling, and this for someone who prefers to be left alone on Christmas. I had dinner, met with online friends, and had a good time, then parted with them and took 20 milligrams sublingual. The effect was markedly delayed, so impatiently, while the incense sacrifice of the former dose was still burning, I took another 30 milligrams sublingual. I sat myself down, and then the 50 milligrams began hitting me all at once, driving me into the hole. Ego death and the birth experience. I got higher and higher, but also more and more filled with unrest. I got focused on my breathing, forcing myself to breathe, trying to keep it calm but gasping for air. The experience intensified beyond anything I had experienced. My inner DJ began spinning electronic samples even faster and faster, tighter and tighter. The visuals became such a white water of imagery that I just couldn't keep up with it. Thoughts spun faster and faster. Part of me wanted to just scream out loud in despair. Every now and then I opened my eyes in utter turmoil, but I knew that whatever it was, I had to do this. So I gathered courage, closed my eyes, and got overwhelmed again. I felt tremendous pressure on my body, being pushed through the birth canal. At the same time, I was utterly disgusted with my obesity and the general state of my body and life. It got worse and worse. I clutched my body in my arms in a one-person hug, and began unconditionally accepting my body, my life, my actions and inactions I felt were wrong. I was being pushed and pushed through the birth canal. My body became as large and a true universe in itself as I clutched it, held on for dear life, whispering my acceptance of my body and myself ever more fully. It became spiritual. Acceptance of self became worship of God, surrender to God. Through accepting myself, I let God into my heart. Through surrender to life, I surrendered completely to the divine plan, whatever it was. I surrendered completely to a perfect storm of complete annihilation on all levels. By surrendering to ego death, I surrendered to life itself, to the universe. Suddenly it all decompressed, agony torn into bliss, and the unspeakably intense experience became highly euphoric. The baby was born. With eyes closed, I raised my arms to the sky. Slimy amniotic fluid was oozing off of me. I was breathing freely. I groaned, "Merry Christmas," and let myself come to my senses. It was the most extreme suffering I had to endure to date, but I had never been closer to God. I felt it was all worth it. It was religion in its purest form, complete surrender to the cosmos entirely, the ultimate faith that all would be well. I went to bed feeling blessed and exhausted. December 26th, 30 milligrams MXE. This is an interlude. I did an experiment. I took 30 milligrams in my mouth, dissolved it in saliva, and kept it under my tongue for 10 minutes, then spat it out and rinsed out my mouth, then waited an hour and a half to see what the effects of the sublingual phase were. They were negligible, less than 5 milligrams MXE equivalent. So I took 30 milligrams an hour and a half after, orally. A full-fledged classical MXE experience unfolded. 10 minutes quicker because the mouth delay of sublingual use was bypassed. I abandoned sublingual use as irrational. Sublingual use, in essence, is oral use with a mouth delay that adds very little to the experience. December 23rd, 110 milligrams MXE. 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 30 milligrams. The third day of Christmas is a rather special day for me. The day I had my heart attack in 2002. This day marked the 10th anniversary, and no second attack had followed it. Reason for celebration. The party. My best friend and I got together and had a bit of a drug party, discussing lively. He dove into beer and weed, and I set myself up with 3 times 20 milligrams oral MXE. These were happy and thoughtful experiences. Despite the festive atmosphere, serious life topics were not shunned. It was very pleasant. The stillness. After he left, I took a 4th 20 milligrams orally, closed my eyes in a candlelit room, and sat in stillness, quietly musing. I reflected in part on a movie from Burkina Faso called Yaba that I had seen the day before, about the lives of an old socially outcast lady and 2 children intertwining. It became a wider reflection on life itself. The celebration of life and death. At 3 a.m., I took a dose of 30 milligrams orally and sat myself down. Whole blackness began swirling, and I retreated to bed. In bed, the visuals began coiling and then took shape. At first, I saw trees from above and soared over an endless jungle. Then I saw masses of colorful people in colorful clothes all walk in one direction together. I realized it was the journey of man through time. My inner DJ spun joyous music throughout. I took a sharp pull to the right and was paddled in a canoe through a cave. Lit by torches held by the men in the canoe, I sat in the one before it. A sharp twist again. I saw the beauty of nature, rich and splendorous. I saw a huge mountain of skulls, but this wasn't an ominous sign of death, but remnants of those who passed on and found peace and completeness in death and carried their journeys on to other lives. The souls that had inhabited every single one of those skulls were in peace. Life and death was one, and it was all good. I traveled on and on, through unspeakable visual splendor and divine joy, until I finally, 2 hours after going to bed, descended into sleep. It had been beautiful without limits, my most visually symbolic and joyous hole ever. It was as if I had been given a glimpse of the afterlife. That's the gist of it, guys. I hope you got something out of it. One thing I learned from this trip is that it pays to spend a month sober before diving in again. It was so much more profound, and at significantly lower dosage. I also learned that oral MXE is just as good as sublingual, and therefore preferable, because sublingual retention is unpleasant and possibly dentally objectionable. All right, everyone. That is the end of our story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Share with us your MXE experiences down in the comments below. Check out the other videos and playlists on my channel, and I will see you in the next one, fam. Deuces.